What's up, everybody? Peace, peace. Let me know that y'all can hear me. Let me know that y'all can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Let me know. I'm good. I'm good. How we on the volume? It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while. Hope y'all have been doing well. Peace. How you doing, Beverly? I need you to DM me too, Beverly. I gotta discuss something with you. So when you get a chance, shoot me a DM. How's everybody doing? Peace and love, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. How y'all doing today? Peace, peace. What's going on, good people? Give it a minute. Let people kind of get in the room. Hope y'all had been having a good holiday season. Whatever you celebrate or don't. I just hope you are resting, recharging, because it is a low energy, time of the year. So that's why I kind of been MIA a lot. This time of the year, I'm kind of reservative on my energy. But other than that, I'm pretty well. So, want to check in with everybody before we conclude this year. Enter into the new year. We are well aware that we know the real new year starts at spring. So the fiscal new year, that's what we call it. We'll say this the fiscal, coming up in the fiscal new year. So, it's not really the best time to start new things in the dead of the winter. So I'm sure you're quite familiar with people saying that, but that is why, because it's the winter time, it's the lowest, you got less sunshine, you have less of the sun. So it's kind of a reflection period. It's a hibernation period. This is when you realize where you came up short at. What did you, where do you need to do better? So you can be better prepared for this season come next year. The new year is just the start of the spring. So the spring season represents the rebirth season. That's why you have Easter in the spring. So the spring equinox lets you know that we have now entered into the point of time where the sun has now risen to the point where we get more of the sun than we do the night. We get more daylight than night. So that's what they represent. So, in the spring, the flowers start blossoming, the grass starts growing, everything starts to bloom. So that is the true new year, the new season, just like the zodiac begins with Aries, right? Which is the spring season. So, depending on how you look at it, but that's what people typically mean when they say this isn't a real new year, But, however, people will say Happy New Year, and I'm not going to take an excessive amount of energy and just, I'm not going to do that either. I'm not going to do that either, You too, and I'm going to keep it moving. I'm just kind of not in that space. It's really draining. For me, it is at this point that I'm on my journey. It's just draining, man. I'm just letting people live. Do what you gonna do. I'm talking to the people who are receptive of what it is that I'm putting out. Everybody else, that ain't none of my business. That ain't none of my business. You know what I mean? March or April, you trying to align? I mean, it's March. It's when Aries season starts. Just look at the zodiac. So when Aries season starts, that's your Aries is a cardinal sign. Therefore, it represents beginnings. So it's a starter type of energy. So things start and can begin. It's a good time for things to start and begin when you're talking about the spring season. So when you talk about Aries, so by the time you get to Taurus, it's a fixed sign because it's settled into the spring season. You know you in spring by the time you get to Taurus season, right? So, it's just a means, a guideline, or what have you. So, also, anybody that has purchased the energy report and you have not received that energy report, I need you to email me or DM me so that you can let me know so that I can get you that energy report. All right. So if you have not received your energy report, you have purchased it, then please contact me and let me know so I can get it to you. Secondly, of course, I got to make it obviously known. I do not DM for any type of readings at all. So anybody DMing you saying they want to read you, it's not me. It's a scammer. Report that page and also screenshot it so you can send it to me so that I can get that page removed also. So, but I wanted to tap in with y'all because, yes, as far as it looking at, I've been doing a lot of assessing the past few weeks. So I've been MIA. I haven't been live in like a month. I haven't been making any video content over the past couple of weeks. I've been sharing a little bit here or there, but I haven't been, creating as much because I've been just kind of assessing a whole lot. So just thinking about where I want to take things, my direction for 2023, some things I want to do, some things I want to get going. What do I want to do with my platform? Just things like that. So that's where I've been at the past few weeks, so that's where I've been the past few weeks. I've just been, kind of doing that somewhat of a hibernation. I mentioned the zodiac, and one thing that what I decided to do was to open myself up to dig deeper with people in astrology and in numerology. Is my sound okay? How I sound? Let me know. So I opened that up because I have the content on the Patreon. So I started a Patreon. I haven't even done a live since I launched it, but I do have a Patreon, and it does have more in-depth information about a lot of the things that I have been posting about. Now, if you have the membership, if you are a person that has the membership, you have access to everything that's on the Patreon. So you don't have to rush to the Patreon, not yet. There will be a transition where most of my video content is going to just be on Patreon. But, I'll let you know and everything. We'll be in touch as far as those with the membership. But if you don't have the membership, I would highly advise you to get with the Patreon and to look over the stuff I put in the Patreon. Everything I've done with the astrology course with shadow work is on the Patreon. Everything I've done with numerology is on the Patreon. All the content dealing with the membership is spread out in the different tiers on the Patreon. So, and that's because the Patreon, I find that it's just easier to navigate. It's easier to share with the way that I'm sharing things. So we have a book library tier. So when you get to a certain tier, there's a book library that I share with you. So when I'm putting out this content, this information, where I'm digging deeper, I'm going to give you the resources that I'm pulling from. Well, some of them, what I can make available to you. And I'm going to also let you know. So if it's anything out there that you want to go get your own copy of, you want to know exactly where this line of thought or whatever is coming from, it's provided to you there. So with the book library, it's going to provide you with a lot of content that is for you to dig into for yourself, because it's vital. If you're really trying to get into this knowledge like this, then it's important for you to do your own reading. It's important for you to come to your own conclusions, because that's the biggest part of the puzzle, is your perception and your mind and your experience. So once you put that to it, then it's all going to, hold on, I got a notification that just distracted me. The membership is a monthly thing. I have taken off the membership for the time being because, as I stated, I'm trying to move towards the Patreon more so for the content because it's easier to navigate. It's easier for me to share certain information and things like that. So, but the membership is a monthly thing. So instead of doing the membership, I would advise you to do the highest tier on the Patreon. All right, so it's three tier levels on the Patreon. There's one for $3.33. It's one for $7.77, and then it's one that's the $33. So there's just like the membership. Now with that, that's extensive. That's like you really want to learn, like you really want to be a real in-depth student. And I just need to know who's really serious about that before I really put my time into formulating stuff like that, because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy, and I don't want to stretch myself too thin. So I would advise to just go look on the Patreon. So on the Patreon, all of the videos, there's clips. You can see how much they, what they are getting into, and you can decide which tier you feel like is best. But moving forward, 2023, all of the exclusive type content is going towards the Patreon, right? Now, I still have the YouTube. I'm going to share all type of information on the YouTube. It's always going to be there. I'm always going to be sharing. Even here on Instagram, I'm always going to be sharing. But the long form, you really want to sit down and learn on this topic, that's separate. So just want to clarify that, just kind of make that clear, just to kind of tell you how I'm moving forward from here on out. Now, as far as the astrology and the numerology, now you guys know I did do courses for that, right? So if you didn't get the course, you could always pick up that information in the Patreon. Now, secondly, if you want to work with me one-on-one, right? Because I open up my schedule to where I will do an astrology session with people. So, but what I need you to have, you got to have your birth date, where you were born, and the time you were born. I need the time you were born. So that's just for me to do it at the best level that I can do it at. I need the time you were born. If you do not have the time you were born, I would advise you to do the numerology, because the numerology, we can dig just as deep off of your birth date and your full birth name. So we can dig just as deep in numerology. It's just a different approach. And with both of those sessions, whether you do astrology, whether you do numerology, right? We're going to do a yearly forecast, meaning we're going to look at the year you have coming ahead. What type of energy is going to be transiting your chart? What type of energy you can expect to have to deal with this coming year? And if we're dealing in numerology, where are you in your numerical cycle? What can you expect to be dealing on this year or for the next few years? Where are you in your cycle? So that's something new that I'm moving forward with, because when it comes to astrology and numerology, you can do, as far as healing, spiritual healing, it's the perfect tools for spiritual healing. It's the perfect tools for DNA healing. So when you're looking at your chart, it's laying out to you, and it ain't just astrology and numerology. Some people deal in human design. Some people deal with the playing card system, right? But either way it goes, it's a means to assess your energetic imprint, so you can know who and what you more than likely gonna be dealing with. All right, so all right, we Jews now. I don't know, bro. People gotta do their genealogy, man. That's what I think. People need to do their genealogy. You know what I stopped doing? I don't speak for all black people. I do not speak for all black people no more. I'm not going to come up and just say, all black people is Jews, or we the Moors, or we the original indigenous aborigines, or we the original indigenous peoples. I'm not doing it. I ain't doing it. I don't know, because I don't know you niggas. I don't know y'all lineage. I don't know where everybody from, and everybody ain't the same. And I think we don't need to keep doing it, because we ain't all the same. We not all the same. We not all the same. So in that sense, yo, I highly advise people to do their genealogy. That's what I advise people to do. Do their genealogy, because at the end of the day, you could be any one of those things, or you could be a combination of those things. So, but don't nobody know that but you. But me personally, I'm not going to speak on what I'm not doing it no more. Like over this past year, for my account to grow the way it has grown, the way this stuff will eat at your energy, let me tell you, I can't do it like that. I gotta do it in a real way. I gotta be genuine. I gotta be authentic, but I can't put myself on the line. I can't do that no more. I need balance. I gotta do it with balance. I have to do it with balance. So I advise people to do your genealogy, because I know how, we Moors. I know how we the original people. I know how we Jews too. I know how we could be a lot of things. I know how we global. But it don't matter if I know that and somebody else don't know that. You know what I mean? And it's not for me to know to just want to tell somebody else at the end of the day. It's really not for that. And people have to want to know it for themselves at the end of the day. And like I said, everybody not the same. We not all the same. We are not all the same. So I advise people to do their own work, talk to your own family, and don't seek out somebody to just lead you. That's how people end up in cults. That's how people end up being misled. That's how people end up being manipulated. That's what I meant when I said, if we did our own work. It was quite a few people who kind of took offense to that. But that's what I mean, because if you do your own work and you know who and what you are, you're not going to be led astray. Because these things it's emotional manipulation. One thing about our people is we are always tugged on by our emotional strings. All the time. People took that Meg and Tory thing and made it so personal. All you saw was personal gender attacks and projections from men and women on each other, because we ran by our emotions. We haven't mastered the self. And when you take a lot of energy talking to a lot of people like that, it's gonna drain you. It's gonna drain you, and it's not gonna help you. And it'll leave you imbalanced, full of resentment and all type of things. And I don't want to take that. I'm not taking that route. I'm not doing that. So that's why I had to take me some time for myself and make sure that I'm centered in what it is that I want to do. And I'm not being swayed by the public, and I'm not being swayed by the people, because our people, man, listen, the people in general, it's the masses. So if we know it's the masses, and then if you know you can't really save the masses, then what are we really doing this for? What are we really doing it for? Like, why continue to talk at them? So I just want to connect with my people that vibe with me. I just want to vibe. I just want to share. I just want a mutual exchange. I don't want to exchange with people not on my vibration no more. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And it's not to say I don't want to talk to or communicate with people. I'm not saying that. I talk to anybody. I'm not saying that. But to pour into people, when you pouring something that they don't want, like, technically you knocking yourself out of balance, because you overhelping. You can't help people that don't want to be hit. Like, you're offering something that they don't want to receive. So how can you get mad about that? I see you asking about the 13th sign. It's just the 13th sign, bro. Like, if you want to go by that system, it really doesn't matter. It's just an expression of energy. The 13th sign is just a representation of mastering your chart. Because if you have 12 houses, just like it's typically 12 zodiac signs, because it's a representation of you. So if it's representing your 12 cranial nerves, if it's a representation of that, because it's talking about your house, is how this is your universe, your whole, but it's talking about you. So the 13th sign, the reason why it's the one that bears the snake, because it's the one that masters the chart. It's the rising of the Kundalini. If you go by that system, it doesn't matter. You feel me? It doesn't really matter. That's not the way I look at astrology. I look at astrology as a means of archetypes, as a means of understanding the self, as of mastering the self. You feel me? So if that's the view of, that's my view of the 13th sign, bro. If you know, because I seen you asked it quite a few times. You seem pretty adamant about, about asking it. So I'm just gonna just throw that out to you. I've broken down 13 quite a few times. So the reason why they program us to think 13 is bad is because 13 is representation of when you've ascended. So if we looking at astrology, for example, if you master your chart, then you the 13th sign. Jesus was the 13th. It was 12 disciples plus one. So he was the plus one. So if the 12 disciples are your 12 zodiac or your 12 houses, right, which is the making up of you in your universe, because it's all the aspects of your universe. So when you master that chart, right, it's like raising the brazen serpent like Moses, or the rising of the kundalini, or activating your chariot, whichever one you want to choose, whichever analogy, but they all pretty much alluding to the same thing. It's talking about spiritual ascension. It's talking about self-mastery, the mastering of self. So that's what the 13th sign represents, right? Because we have every zodiac in our chart. Every zodiac in your sign, in your chart. Every zodiac rules a house in your chart. So therefore, you are an aspect of every zodiac sign, right? Right? So we don't want to deal with it religiously. We want to look at it esoterically or metaphysically, and we want to apply it to self, so that we can understand that this was just a science to help you understand the archetypes or the expressions of the energies, or even the different places of life that you have to go through, right? So that's all it really is. You know what I'm saying? That's all that really is, in terms of the way that I see that when you get to talking about that 13 sign, because we're going into the number 13. Right? So that's how I see that one. That's how I see that, But me personally, astrology did a lot for me along my journey. When it came to me doing shadow work, when it came to me really learning how to master myself, astrology did a lot for me, because it helped me to understand my life. You know how, cause I'm a person, I grew up in church, right? So I'm from the South. So Baptist church, you know how the preacher would be like, God has your life written out and all this type of thing. All those little things they used to say didn't make sense until I started to look at metaphysics and esoteric. I was like, oh, so maybe that's what they mean when they say that, but maybe they don't, because that's how I took it. So when I got into astrology, and when you look at a chart, so I'm going to give you an example. So, because the astrology can tell you a lot. The zodiac signs correlate to a part of your body. They correlate to minerals. They correlate to so many, and even in those minerals, they correlate with gemstones. They correlate with literally everything. So it was a science or a way to be able to. It's basically ancient psychology. It's basically ancient psychology. You know how you take them little tests and they be like, oh, well, you this, and it. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Psychology comes out of astrology and the occult. It does, because it's dealing with the mind. It's dealing with the unknown. And remember, the all is mental. So if you haven't studied the Hermetic principles, I would highly advise y'all to get into the Hermetic principles, because when you know them principles, it's the baseline for everything. It's the foundation for everything. Literally everything. $44 and $33 mean you've been seeing them everywhere. Well, 44, they're master numbers. So they're amplified. So 33 is always seen as a master number. We're told 33 so much. You got 30, they say 33-degree Masons or third-degree Masons. There's always some emphasis in those threes. Jesus died at the age of 33. But it's the number 3 itself, right? So the number 3 itself is related to the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. So it's a very spiritual, it's like spiritual expression. So when you get 2 3s, that's emphasis of a master number. So when they say Jesus died at 33, they're really kind of talking about spiritually transcending, because the Kundalini, or your chakras, right, or that energy that sits at the base of your spine, which rises up, which is what Christ has risen is about, or what it means. It has to go up your spine, metaphorically speaking. So there's 33 bones up your spine, up to your skull, right? So the skull is the kingdom. It's the heavens. So you rise that energy up with God. Remember your cranial nerves and all that. You have 12 cranial nerves from your brain that control all the basic functions of your whole body, all of your organs, all of your organ system major functions come from them 12 cranial nerves. So everything that makes up your existence, like specifically pertaining to your senses, pertaining to your data reception. You know, if you think about it, your brain and your nerves make up everything that's real in your reality, because it's your brain telling you what you seeing, what you hearing. Everything is coming from your brain, just like they tell you in the Matrix. So those 33, that 33 is your Jacob's ladder. That's the way you get to heaven. So when your Kundalini rises up, that's the symbolism of the 33. So people who have a life path of a 33, or people who have strong connection to 33, or when you see 33, there's a strong spiritual emphasis in that. So when you see, and 44 is a master number, it's in terms of building. It's in terms of like, because 4 is foundation. There's 4 elements. So everything is built. When you're talking about building, anything pertaining to building has to do with 4. So 2 4s is like a magnifying glass on it. So it's like it's like turning it up. So if I'm gonna turn my ability up, that's what it is when you see the double emphasis, or the triple. See 4 4 4. You know, so everything about 4, foundation, stability, process, patience, all of those things are emphasized in 4. So if you see in 4s, there might be the lessons of a 4. That might be what you learn in 4. 4 is also related to power, because it has to do with the elements. You need all 4 elements. All 4 elements make up the creation of the world. So you need all 4. So when you're trying to create something, right? When you're talking about creation, 4 is a big number when you're talking about it, because you're talking about the elements, and a lot of systems so can be built off of 4. As far as the astrology reading, yes. So what I break down in the astrology reading, we're gonna go over your whole chart. What lessons in your chart, your karma that's in your chart, what type of gemstones you need to be working with in your chart, what type of imbalances that you've been battling with in your chart. We're going to look at your year forecast, so what's going to transit, what type of transits you're going to be dealing with in your chart. Now, you all can learn this with a lot of study, with a lot of time. And see, for me, right, I studied my kids' charts. So I would look at my chart, I would look at my husband's chart, I would look at my kids' charts. And because especially when you're looking at your own chart, nobody is going to ever be able to read your chart like you, because nobody knows your life like you. So things that happen in your life that you remember specifically a certain way, and how it impacted you a certain way, it's going to really stick out to you when you learn the aspects of reading your chart. So that language is going to become fluent to you, and you're going to understand things in a way that you never knew that you could understand it before. It's going to unlock your DNA. At least that's what it did for me. Because for one, when you study astrology, you studying the symbols. Symbology is very important. The all is mental, right? So symbols are very important. That's why our ancestors started to write the symbols. That's why they started to do the symbols. We was here for a very long time before we put anything anywhere. So the symbols are a language. They speak to your subconscious and they speak to your DNA. And when you start to study these and you repeatedly looking at them and you seeing them, they're going to start to speak to you. So you're going to start to dream. You're going to start to have dreams. You're going to start to see things a certain way. You're going to start to think a certain way because that's what it does. That's the science behind it all. Once you start to study the symbols, it's a wrap because the symbols literally are going to speak to you. I can't tell you exactly what is going to be necessary for you to study along your path that's going to provide like a serious shift for you. I can't really tell you that, right? But when you get into looking into the chart, there is certain keys in the chart that can kind of tell you and can kind of lead you to places. And once you yourself, it's important for you to do it. Once you start to put them pieces together, when you make the connections yourself, you are going to know where you have to go. But it's important that you have to do it. It's important that you do it. It's important that you do it because it's just you have to do it. Now you can always seek out somebody else. There's always people that are very skilled in knowing these things and can help us and direct us. That's true. But what's in your blood and what's your path is your path, Your first brain is your stomach. Well, that's because, your intuition is really your first brain, right? I would more so say the heart, but I know exactly what you mean when you say that. And I'm in agreement with you too, also. And that's because, your intuition speaks to your gut. So your nerve ganglion, your nerve ganglion in your stomach, it has more neurons than your brain. So your intuition, when you feel something in your gut, it's a brain. It's a brain. But a lot of people don't listen to it. And they neglect it. And then they end up in bad situations because life trying to teach them how to use that brain. But yeah, that's your intuition. That's the gut. That's the gut. Yeah. So yep, the Hermetic principle. So on the YouTube, I have the first two principles. I have the law of correspondence and the law of mentalism on the YouTube. So you can watch the whole lesson on those principles on there. So in the top of the year, I'm going to go ahead and finish that out and put some more up for y'all. Yeah, Jay-Z 444. That's the whole highlight of the 444. Because the whole album was about family. The whole album was about foundation. It was about building something for the long haul, legacy. You do that with four. That's all four energy. Commitment. That's all four energy. So him addressing family, him addressing his roots, him addressing his psychological patterns and behaviors. All that is four energy. Now, see, you can learn it when you looking at astrology. Because it teaches you all those things are things of the fourth house. All those are things of the fourth house. When you study numerology, all those are things of the four. It's really just it's all related. It's just an expression of energy, an understanding of the energy. But that was the emphasis of the power behind that 444 album. Jay-Z be knowing, Yeah, he be knowing. Oh yeah, it was 44 people in the live, right? Anybody trying to contact you about a reading, I would advise against it. A lot of times those are scammers and they're not the people who they're pretending to be. So I wouldn't advise that. If you want to do a session with your chart, then the link is in my bio, or you can send me an email if you got if you got a question before, before booking, if you want to book it. But and it's a lengthy session. It's like 1.5 to 2 hours. It takes a lot. I was hesitant. My husband's been telling me that I should offer astrology sessions, but I didn't, because I was like, man, they take a lot of energy. But I'm in a space where I'm prepared. I'm ready to do that now. So, and I think it'll help a lot of people who are trying to learn more, because I naturally just share information when I do stuff. So, it kind of is what it is. The natal chart, I'm going to look at the natal chart, but I'm going to also look at your, transits, upcoming transits as well. So that way we can look into the forecast, so we can see, what type of lesson, because you're probably in the middle of lessons, everything is cyclic. So if the planets move at a particular, cyclic pattern, it takes a certain particular amount of time, then we know we ourselves can go through cycles. And certain things some things in life happen. Well, I ain't gonna say some things, but things happen in life when they're supposed to. So some things are gonna come to the surface when they are supposed to come to the surface. There's gonna be some things in life you're not gonna be prepared to deal with until you're 50. And what happens at 50? Chiron returns. So Chiron is your childhood wound. So that wound gonna come back and visit you. And you're gonna have the opportunity to transcend the lesson of that Chiron. It's just, it's just what it teaches. Know thyself is the order of the day. Absolutely. Every day it did. Start researching symbolism. Start studying symbolism. There's some books. There's some books. Man and His Symbols. Who wrote Man and His Symbols? Study the Masons. Study Masons. They really, because everything about Masonic ritual, right? Everything about Masonic symbolism comes from Hermeticism. So, and they the best preserved. They preserved it. They preserved it, right? So, and here's what I want y'all to know, right? I'm the type of individual who deal with the information for what it is, right? I'm a detacher. I can detach my emotions and take the information and do with it and go. Everybody can't always do that, right? So I understand if some people don't want to get into some things. But honestly, Manly P. Hall really breaks down a lot about symbolism, secret teachings of all ages. That's where you really want to start. I recommend that book though, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, because it touches on a lot of all across the board. It's like an encyclopedia. So I would say that's a good book to go with. But there's a book called Man and His Symbols. William Churchward, I believe, I think he wrote The Symbols of Mu. I'm going to share some books with y'all. I'm going to put some books on my story that'll help you to look into symbolism. But I would say, for real, Manly P. Hall, Secret Teachings of All Ages is a very, very good place to start. But when you study, you got to put it all together. You got to read between the lines, because it's not going to be all laid out for you either. You might look and study something about, you got to put it all together. That's the best way for me to, it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle, man. It's really like a puzzle. Ancestors will give signs. They do. Signs will be astrological. That's why studying stuff is important. Yes. Then you're going to get dreams. You gotta just read, man. You gotta just, so you can you can take it and go within with it, because spirit gonna tell you Spirit is going to tell you. It's so hard to put into words, y'all. It's so hard to put this into words. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for the protect. I appreciate that. Metaphysical Bible Dictionary is good for symbolism. I just put that on the Patreon the other day. So if you on the Patreon, if you have the book tier, the $7 tier, go download it. Okay. Now, if you do Patreon on the mobile app, you can't download the files on the mobile app. You got to go to it on the computer or go to it through the website. So all those books up there, you got to go download them. So, but you can't download them through, you can't see them through the app. But if you go to the website, you can get it. But the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It will give you some great insight into a lot. You can just look up random words. Just look up cross. Look up, look up the city names and people names. And it breaks it down in a very, very good way. So that's a great one. Thank you for that, that suggestion. Thank you for that. So yes, go get on the Patreon and the book is up there. I be calm and nonchalant. I be trying to be. I do. Yeah, Jay-Z do drop a lot of gems. He do though. And it's I get frustrated a lot dealing in this information because you have to battle propaganda. And the media has a way of making it appear, right, that us people who deal in the real knowledge and information, we get these negative labels, conspiracy theorists, things like that, all for the means of being discredited. Also, they can discredit you. Also, people don't listen to you. So it's like you have the freedom to speak, right? But I'm going to play in the background and I'm going to do everything I can, right? I'm going to do everything I can to play with how you're perceived, to control how you are perceived, right? So a lot of people, a lot of things that I learn from, that I pick up a lot of coded language from, right? It's not going to be people. How do I say this? I'm going to give you an example, Jay-Z, right? For example, Jay-Z. Jay-Z it's always so many occult gems in his music. I don't completely credit him with them gems. I just think he's very, very tapped in. I just think he tapped in. And so you have to understand, being tapped in doesn't have to do with morality, spiritual morality now, right? It just has to do with being connected to your soul. That's all it has to do with, is being connected to your soul, right? Now, and I'm saying this because this been frustrating me a lot lately. It's been frustrating me a lot because the Satanism thing is on OD. And I'm so tired of it. I'm beyond tired of it. Like, I don't even want to talk about it no more. I'm so tired of it because it's such old played out propaganda at this point. Because it's not about it being Satanism, man. It's not about that. It ain't about Satanism, yo. Occultists run the world, okay? I notice I said occultists. I didn't say Satanists, yo. I did not say that. I said occultists. Because understand, occultists really understands the workings of energy. They really understand religion. And when you go to Satanism, you still dealing with a religious minded individual. So you still dealing with a person being manipulated off of duality. They still being manipulated off of duality. And if that's the case, a lot of things are going to elude them because you're still playing in the duality game. See, the symbolism of the Mason showing you the checkerboard, it represents duality, man. So if everything is everything, you just picking and choosing, like anything that splits you, that makes you unbalanced, is the only true evil. It is the only true evil because it's splitting you, making you imbalanced. Okay, like what you need, the charger. Here you go. Take this. Oh, you need this. Which one? I don't know. Take both of them. So, and I be treading on this, and I'm always going back and forth, man, because I know this really is not for everybody. Everybody can't get it. It's a process. It's really a process, man. But it's the principle of duality. It's just understanding that there's two. It's two sides to everything. Everything is just the reality of this illusionary world that we living in, man. It's like, right. Speaking more so on Masonic principles, not the modern organizations you see today. But they just the scapegoats. Like, the devil is you. God is you. It's about what you gonna choose to do. It's your own conscience. What are you gonna do? You gonna take the low path? You gonna do are you gonna take the high path? It's really very simple, but it's just I don't know, man. I don't even really like getting into it no more, cause I just feel like everybody just fall to it. I just feel like everybody fall in it. It's just propaganda, but you just gotta read, yo. Like, just read a book, man. Just read, like. I notice people who usually say a lot of stuff is satanic, they've never read a satanic book before. They've never read a satanic book before. That's odd. You don't find that odd? You don't find that weird? Because you only speaking from one perspective. You only speaking off one side. You only know one side. You don't know the other. You don't know what it is. It's nothing but melanin. It's nothing but melanin signs when you're talking about Satan and everything of Satan. They just took everything that was affiliated with the Osiris mystery or the Osarian mystery and made it satanic. They made it they started giving you these images and these pictures, man. That's why occultists run the world, because they know what you're afraid of, and they know how to hide behind these masks. They know how to manipulate you, because people don't study it. Because people stuck in religion. They be saying they don't go to church, but they still have the viewpoint of the church. They still dealing with the church. At the end of the day, you just don't go. It's the same thing, though. It's really the same thing. You still viewing it all from the devil. I never understood how people can say they God, but if you God, bro, you the devil too. But we scared of it. We're afraid of it. Because they did a very good job of brainwashing us to that. So we so terrified of hell, we can't transcend nothing. That's why we stay stuck in hell. That's why a lot of people are going to be stuck in hell. A lot of people are going to be left behind. That's why you can't even talk to them. You can't. So that's the point that I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. And I always get so exhausted. I get exhausted in this field when it comes to this particular talk. I always get exhausted when it comes to this, because people not ready to go there. That's why I put up that post about disruptor, because people only are willing to go so far. Oh, we want to be conscious, but we ain't trying to be that damn conscious. Ain't nobody trying to be that conscious. People ain't trying to be that in control of their lives. No, 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 no. We still have to have somebody to blame when things don't go right. Because we don't want to accept what none of that means. That's what people mean about accountability. You don't want to accept what that means. So it's easier to be a sheep. It's easier for that. It's easy to just fall in that line. But it's, people like me, man, it's hard. Honestly, it's hard. But that's what I mean by that. Because people only want to go so far. But you got to take the steps. It's like taking a leap. It's a true adventurer's path. The left-hand path is dangerous. You know why it's dangerous? It's dangerous because there's not going to be nobody there but you. You're going to have to take a lot of leaps. You're going to have to jump off a lot of ledges that people are not willing to jump off of. It's all metaphorical, man. It's all metaphysical. It's all esoteric. It's all talking about you. Most people are not going to take that journey, man. Because then I have to figure out why I'm fucking up. Because then it's nobody else's fault. This path is not easy. Because you learn on this path, the only enemy, the very original first enemy, the real enemy is the one within you. Everybody can't process that. Everybody can't take that path. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. So you got to choose. It's easier to let somebody else be responsible for it. It's very telling. Look at relationships. That's why relationships be the way they be. It's easier to let somebody else take up the slack. It's way easier than doing your actual part, doing your actual work. That's why we probably got so many souls on the planet. A lot of people out here repeating. A lot of repeats. This mug getting full. People fear things they have less knowledge of. When you become aware of it, you can approach it with respect. Absolutely, I agree with it. And make a cognitive decision for yourself. Absolutely. Yep. It's like that movie, The Boogeyman. It was like when they stopped being afraid, it was just things in the room making up the boogeyman. But, it's not easy. Oh, dang. It hit me now. Yeah. You just want to be equipped more. How you feel? What you feel is the means of being equipped. I feel like the more you study, the more equipped you become. Like the stronger your psychic defense becomes. Because me personally, but it might be me because I have I have a sensitive, like empathic nature. But I can feel when somebody trying to manipulate me and I don't like it. I can feel it. Like I feel like they in my mind and I don't like it. So, but see, it comes with its downsides though, because you can get so far into it that it can kind of make you hard. It can kind of make it hard to get around regular people sometimes. I can only do it in like increments. I can only do that in increments. What you do in this round so you don't repeat. I ain't trying to come back here. Well, you might have chose to assist, you might be an older soul just here to help, but because we forgot and we in a state of remembering, right? We not liking the experience. So I can understand it. But it's just completing your mission, because it's a book. Brother Panic did a breakdown on this book. It's called How to Die and Never Come Back. Look that video up. How to Die and Never Come Back. It's got a lot to do with your consciousness. That's why you gotta study. I study all type of stuff. What drive me to study is fear. Fear drive me to study. Because growing up, I feel like I was a very fearful person. I feel like I was a very fearful child. I feel like I was very programmed to like do everything I was supposed to do. And when I don't know what woke me up, but that's another story. I don't really want to get out into all that story, but I can't take myself back. I can't go backwards. I just can't go backwards. And fear was what held me captive. So in my mind, to like refute it, because I feel like I'm a fighter. When I feel afraid of something, I study it. And because I don't want to be afraid. If that makes sense. Because they weaponized the devil against me when I was young. So I had to learn all I had to learn about the devil. And I must say, I learned way more than I've ever learned in my life when I started to study everything they said don't look into. It is what it is. I'm just being real with y'all. I'm just sharing my experience. It was like I've never read things. I've never seen things that was so resonant with my soul before that point in time. Because going to church, it just never was right for me. And I wanted to know in church. I was a little kid trying to figure it out. I really was studying it. But it just never sat right. So I couldn't get comfortable in it. Some people can, but I couldn't. But when I found this, it became my new obsession. And I never stopped. I couldn't stop. Everything about it. I just feel like the knowledge saved my life. Like, I don't know, I was dealing with things in my body, physically, everything. Everything drove me to just study just all this other stuff. Energy, how it works in your body, the chakras, all of that. And it just liberated me. Sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis can be different things. So you can be, because naturally we soul travel. We astral travel when we sleep naturally. But we don't always remember. We don't always be aware of it, depending on, our levels of consciousness, our states of consciousness. Some of us, or some people, can consciously, project themselves and do that or whatnot. So, but, even think about it. Astral, it's funny, like astral traveling, it's kind of like, to travel in the astrals. So it's soul traveling. So when you have sleep paralysis, you could be waking up before you're fully connected with it within your body. So that can be happening to you, and you can be scared. And when you get scared, naturally, the anxiety of it gonna make it a harder or a worse situation to kind of deal with. So that can be it as far as sleep paralysis. For some people, it can be like the way you sleep, depending on how you sleep, when the position that you're in. You might notice if it happens to you more in a certain position. So, you might want to change your position when you sleep. You might want to try to start a dream journal so you can try and remember what you're dreaming. Because you could be doing a lot of work when you sleeping. You can be doing shit in the astrals or in the spirit when you sleeping. And it can be affecting you a lot in your physical. So you might want to do a dream journal. try to start remembering what you're dreaming, because it can provide you some insight sometimes. So, it could be different things. We're going to be heavy on the books for 2023 though. So we're going to be, we heavy on the books. We're going to be right, Beverly. We serious about our spiritual journey. So it's like we got to cut the excess out. And that's what I feel like this year. And it's funny because my Jupiter returned this year. And with Jupiter returning, my page blew up this year. And I feel like the expansion, I have to balance the expansion out, because I have to cut off the excess. So I can feel myself needing to cut off the excess. Because right now, by being the winter solstice, by being this time of year, I feel really, really like reserved. Like I don't want to do nothing with nobody right now. So I just want to keep my energy to me. So I know that's just me telling my way of saying to myself, I spread my energy out too far. I spread my energy out too far. I do not take shrooms, but hear me out. Hear me out though. I'm waiting on my experience. I'm planning that experience. I'm very much planning that experience. So, if anybody want to share, their experiences, I'm all welcome to hearing them out. But I have not had that experience yet. I can only imagine though, because I feel like I be tripping. I feel like I be tripping. And I haven't yet. So, but when I do, I don't know, I think I'm going to make a whole, video or something about it afterwards or something. I don't know. Haven't been attracted in your city? You mean attacked? What's that? Multi-company entrepreneurs? Have you ever been attracted? I don't know what you mean. Let me know what you mean. Do you mean attacked in my sleep? Let me know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by attracted. What do you say about galactic central sun being this universe's closest thing to God? I don't know. Is that reference to like just the actual sun in the sky? Are you saying that? Closest thing to God? I mean, if you're saying that, symbolic representation, I can see it symbolic representation, maybe. Like but I don't know. I don't really understand that question. Content about astral traveling. Do I have any content about astral traveling? I don't have any content where I've talked in depth about astral traveling. That's coming in 2023 though. Who are going through dark times, basically not making the right choices. Well, I always tell people, if like you don't going through something when you sleep, like if you having some wild dreams, or if you having repeated dreams, or something that's happened to you a lot when you sleep, then spirit is really, really trying to speak to you. Because when you sleep, that's when your conscious mind, your conscious rest. So your subconscious is really, 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 really trying to tell you something. Really trying to tell you something. But some people can be really oblivious to the messages or to the signs, and in that instance, and that can just be, sometimes people egos can be big. Sometimes people can just not be aware. Sometimes people can just not be aware. Like Lil Riley from Freeman. That's funny though, because that's Regina King. And when she was in what's that movie? What's the movie? The Harder They Fall. She had a deep little southern little accent, and I was like, the way she talking, it kind of sounds a lot like some of my people. So I don't know. You heard the Palladians gifted humanity with weed. Well, I heard weed isn't from here though. So I've heard it's from the Sirius. I don't know. I've heard different things pertaining to weed. I don't know. So I haven't looked a lot into a lot into that. That's interesting. That's interesting. That bad trip was the last day I tried. That made me feel suicidal. Oh, so you must be talking about the shrooms. Yeah, see, that's why I'm kind of waiting. I want the right environment because I don't want a bad trip. Even though they say a bad trip is, it's still, it just might be, something trying to be revealed to you that you just might not be ready for. But, that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure my environment was right when I tried it. It seems like God is a sun, light is information. Okay, so I get what you're saying, but you can look at it in different ways because, soul, as in like solar, it also can be referring to, your inner sun, the soul within you, as in your inner sun in a reflection to the outer sun. So that's why they say the ancients had the symbol, of the creator as the sun. Because if you think about the sun, it pretty much does everything in the physical that a creator would do, right? Or that in that sense, it gives life. And if you take away the sun, then there will be no life on the planet, right? Even the moon itself, the moon is a reflection, is shown from a reflection of the sun's light. So I can see that. I can see what you mean in it. I can definitely see that. For the galactic central sun, which communicates with our sun. Yep, okay, all right. So yeah, I can see that. I can definitely correlate with it. Okay, so you've been attacked in your sleep. I would say try sleeping with a baby, what's the stone, baby? Try sleeping with a black tourmaline under your pillow. Try sleeping with a black tourmaline under your pillow. You might just what? Oh, and my husband recommends a dream catcher. Give you a dream catcher. And he said, you can consider laying salt down at your windows and your doorways to, ward out, keep negative energy kind of warded out. Sometimes. It could be somebody that's coming in their house bringing that shit. Yeah, sometimes, like he's saying, somebody could be visiting you, might be coming to your house, might be leaving their energy around. So sometimes, because it's like psychic attacks, so sometimes people don't always know what they can be directing towards you, but it could just be coming from somebody who might be close to you that could be envious of you. So it could be a friend of me or somebody close by, somebody being able to get in your personal space, to upset that energy. So you want to get centered and you want to meditate and maybe reflect on it because it might be, reflected in somebody in your environment that could be bringing that energy around you. Herb is all you need. I feel you on that. I feel you on the herb. I definitely feel you on it. Wearing birth sign stones. Well, people generally wear birth sign stones because that's just capitalistic means way of hold on, babe. Daddy got you. Okay. It's just in my opinion, it's just a means for them to capitalize off of just selling it, off of just popularizing gemstones just connected to your birthday. But at the end of the day, everything is still based on the spiritual system, even though it's not out in the open. Everything still is based off of astrology. And if you're looking at astrology, then, that in a sense can have this connected to the gemstones, right? So, but the purpose of a gemstone is because the minerals when you're born, right? So when you're born, based on that your placement, your energetic placement, there's certain mineral salts or there's certain concentrated salts, body salts that correlate to you. So depending on when you're born, you can be naturally in a state where I can always use a particular, mineral because it's just like, it's kind of a form of healing. It's kind of a form of holistic wellness. It's a form of holistic wellness. That's the best way to put it. It's a form of holistic wellness. Now the thing is, most people just think generally in terms of their birthstones, but you can wear or work with any type of stone. See, religious people had this idea that people worship stones. You do not worship a stone. You only worship yourself. You understand that the stone itself is just a reflection of you. So this stone, and it's made the same way your body made. It goes through certain processes within the earth that produces particular minerals within those particular gemstones. So if everything is energy, right, and it's all about vibration and frequency, right? If it's all about vibration and frequency, then if you deal with certain minerals, get certain concentrations, you add, subtract, or put more minerals or align with these minerals, then you can put yourself on a particular frequency. That's what it's all about. It's about understanding energy. What people don't get is when you get into mentalism, when you get into the law of principle of vibration, hermeticism, it's along the lines of quantum physics. Like it's a real science. Like it's actually proven through science. People think it's hoopla. That's why it's just magic to them. That's why it don't make sense to them. That's why they fear it. But it's really a science. It really aligns with a science. So even when you're looking at if you look at the Chinese system, if you look at the way that they look at the elements in the body in the Chinese system, they look at the meridians. When they look at the chi, all of it is just different systems of explaining to you how energy works within your body. And if you can understand how energy works within your body, you can manipulate that energy and heal your body. It's simple. It's really that simple. But you just have to understand, you have to study. Right? And so in terms of that, you have to study yourself. It's really about studying yourself, because if I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, right? So I can study this I can understand, or I can look at, even down to y'all looking at the degrees. You know that there's a particular time that you're born that aligns with a particular part of your body. You know, if you wake up a certain time of the night and a particular part of your body hurting, you know that you can see that in your chart. That's how powerful astrology is. Like, that's how deep it can go. That's how intricate it is, because it understands, it lays out. When you study all this, it lays out how everything is interconnected. It's no small. It's like if you pull one little small string, it's all that connected. It's just that way. The Big Book of Birthdays. It's a good book. But when you're looking at the tarot, if you study tarot, right, or if you study the playing card system, or if you study numerology, or if you study astrology, or if you study Kabbalah, right, you studying the same thing. It's the same thing. That's when my whole world, that's when I completely shifted, my whole paradigm shifted. When I realized, when I dipped in every aspect of everything, when I realized everything was the same thing. It changed everything. It changed everything. I was no longer the same. I'm not the same. But be cautious. Because you're not going to see nothing the same no more. But it's all the same thing. It's just different languages. because it's just different people. You got to think about it's different people in different regions, in different places in time, describing the same science. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just modern day science. They're just catching up to it. It's just a new language of describing the same thing. That's all modern science is. Modern science is a new language to describe the old thing. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. CERN, man, they studied. That's ancient knowledge. It's ancient. It's not new. Yes, you do have to. Yeah, you do have to control. You have to learn to control your mind. Because when you learn to control your mind, you learn how to control how you feel. You learn how to control, because it's really all you can control. All you can control is you. It's not what I researched, but it was a start as information is split in different locations. Right. Repeat again the list. Which list? What I was saying as far as Kabbalah, astrology, numerology, tarot, they all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Even down to the Hebrew letters. It's all telling you how the universe is constructed. All of it. If you can tap into subconscious mind, you can alter your reality. Absolutely. They don't want us learning about our minds because we can alter reality with our minds alone. That's how powerful our minds are. Yes, absolutely. It was... What's it? Check the bathroom. This on the Sandman, the last episode is a bonus episode. It's split in two, but the first one is The Dream of a Thousand Cats. That's what that one is about. That was deep. How the cat, and it was a Siamese cat. Yo, it was so deep, man, because it's so much with the cat in terms of spiritual system. It's so much with the cat. But the cat was going around traveling, telling all the cats about what she had did and what she learned, what she went through, and how she had visited the Cat King. And it was revealed to her that at one point in time, the people worshiped the cats. The cats were great beings. And the people worshiped the cats until eventually, one day it was all different. And what happened was, it said that the humans dreamed of a time or dreamed of a world where cats never ruled. And it's deep because it's real. It's real because when you control history, right? When you control history, you control how a people see themselves or how they don't see themselves, rather. So, historically speaking, who we once were has been removed because they dreamed of a world where we no longer ruled, all the way to the point where there is not people on this earth, the masses itself, who can remember a time where we ruled or who know of a time when we ruled. It's pretty much a myth. It's pretty much a legend. It's pretty much ancient. It is an old world. So you have to take back your mind so that you can control your own perception. Because as long as their history, their religion, their means, their ways, as long as that is the foundation of your perception, then they will always control you. You will always be enslaved to what you are. That's always going to be what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be until you take your mind back. You have to take your mind back. You have to take back your perception. That's why the TV is so rampant. Think about it though. At one point in time, and we wonder why it's so bad today. At one point in time, y'all, like TV wasn't like it. Like, you gotta think about it. How much of what we believe is true based off of what we see all the time off of TV.